They say you never really know your family until money is on the table. I used to think that was cynical. Naive of me, I know. But I grew up in a house where the word love and the word inheritance were never spoken in the same room. Cold, practical people. The kind who send birthday texts that read like receipts. Then my sister stole $47,000 from our father's will. Not by breaking in. By telling a story. A story about a disease she never had told to a dying man so he'd sign over her share of the money early. And the part that still keeps me awake isn't even that she lied. It's that she almost got away with it. Because for 11 months, everyone believed her. My father. My mother. The aunts and uncles who sent cards and casseroles. And me? I was the only one in the room who knew. I had the proof in my pocket the entire time. So settle in. If you've ever trusted the wrong person in your own bloodline, you're going to want to hear what comes next. Let me give you the lay of the land before the walls come down. My name is Daniel. I'm 31. I have one sister, Melissa, 2 years older, the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. Our father, Richard, was a self-made man. Started as a welder, built a small fabrication business, worked 16-hour days for 30 years, and retired with just under $500,000 when he passed. The will was simple. Everything split 50-50 between Melissa and me. No strings, no drama, or so we thought. But there was one clause that ended up mattering more than anything else. Dad had congestive heart failure. Slow, stubborn. The doctors gave him between 6 months and 2 years. He was still sharp. Still Dad. He hated the idea of his money tangled up in probate, so he had his lawyer structure the estate so both of us could access our inheritance quickly after he was gone, no waiting a year for the courts. That's the detail to remember. Keep it in your back pocket. Because Melissa heard that clause and, instead of seeing it as her father trying to make things easy on his kids, she saw it as a door. It started the way these things always start in my family. A phone call. A group text. A sentence that drops into a quiet evening and rearranges everything. The text came from Melissa on a Tuesday in March. Simple. Clinical. Cruel in its casualness. Got some news. Can we all talk this weekend? Nothing urgent, but I need the family together. My mother heard nothing urgent and panicked instantly. By Friday the group chat was a prayer circle. We gathered that Sunday. Dad was in his recliner, a blanket over his legs, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Melissa sat across from him, composed, holding a manila folder like a shield. And then she told us. Stage 4. Ovarian. Aggressive. The doctors, she said, were recommending immediate treatment at a specialized clinic out of state, the kind that doesn't take insurance. The kind where hope costs money. She cried beautifully, the way someone cries when they've rehearsed it in the mirror. Her hands shook. She looked at my father, and her voice broke, and she said the one thing she knew would break him. Dad, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I've run the numbers and I can't. I'm so sorry to even say it out loud. I watched my father's face fracture in real time. The man who had never once told me he loved me reached across the coffee table, took her hand, and wept. He didn't ask for a second opinion. He didn't ask which clinic. He just said, whatever you need, baby. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of all of it. That was that. The room fell apart. And I sat in the corner and felt something cold slide down the back of my neck. Because I knew something nobody else did. Melissa had been to that out-of-state clinic before, 6 months earlier, for a nose job. I'd seen the billing statement on my mother's kitchen counter by accident, the kind of mix-up that happens when two sisters share a Gmail login they never changed. The clinic's name on her folder matched a line item I'd seen months earlier. But it was a hunch. A coincidence I couldn't prove. So I did what my family does best. I said nothing. And I started listening. What happened next should have set off every alarm in the house. Melissa didn't just want comfort. She wanted cash. Now, while Dad was still alive, so she could start treatment immediately before the window closed. Here's where that clause comes back in. Dads will allow an early distribution in a medical emergency, a lump sum advance against the inheritance, the kind meant for a catastrophic diagnosis. It was legal. And Melissa knew the exact wording because, this still makes my stomach turn, she'd asked the lawyer about it herself 3 weeks before she told us she was sick. 3 weeks. She'd done her homework. She'd read the will, found the line that let her pull her share out early, then manufactured the emergency to fit the loophole. Dad asked the lawyer to draft the papers that Tuesday. He wanted to give her $47,000, almost her entire half, pulled forward, so his dying daughter wouldn't worry about money while she fought for her life. Sit with that number. 47,000. A real chunk of a working man's legacy, handed over while he was dying, because he believed she was dying too. The lawyer pushed back, asked for documentation, something on letterhead. And Melissa, calm and prepared, produced it all. I'll never know exactly how she faked it. What matters is it looked legitimate, and the lawyer signed off. And that's when I decided I couldn't do this alone. I couldn't accuse my sister with a hunch and a coincidental billing statement. That road leads to Daniel's always been the dramatic one, the slow erasure of anyone in a family who tells the truth nobody wants to hear. So I started recording. Not loudly. I downloaded a voice memo app with a widget I could hit without looking, and carried my phone everywhere like a comfort object. Every dinner. Every hospital update. Every call where she told me how hard this was for her. I recorded it all. For 9 months, Melissa played the part of a dying woman with an Oscar-worthy performance. Wigs she needed for the chemo, bought from a boutique downtown and sold to everyone as medical-grade prosthetics. Tearful calls whispering she might not make it to Christmas. And the money kept flowing. The $47,000 was never enough, of course. There were additional treatments and travel costs that chipped away at Dad's estate in smaller increments. She was methodical. She knew a steady drip of just a little more feels like love. And here's the cruelest part. Melissa's cancer gave her the spotlight at the exact moment our father needed it most. His final months, which should have been about him, about saying goodbye, got swallowed whole by her. Every gathering became about her pain, her bravery, her updates. And Dad ate it up. He sent money, he sent messages, while the disease actually killing him got quieter and nobody was really watching it. I watched it happen. I recorded it. Every night I sat in my car, listening back, looking for the crack. For months I found nothing concrete. A timeline that didn't track. A doctor's appointment on a day I knew she'd been at a spa, I had the geotagged photos a friend posted. But nothing that would stand up in a room full of people who'd already decided to believe her. Until one night in November. Dad was in the hospital, a real hospital, for his heart. The family had gathered again. And Melissa, for once, let her guard down. She thought she was alone. She thought I'd stepped out for coffee. But I hadn't. I ducked into the hallway, and my phone, sitting on the half-wall beside her, caught every word. She was on the phone. With a friend. And she wasn't whispering brave things. She was laughing. This is the moment everything changes. I'm going to tell it exactly as it happened. I'm standing in the hospital hallway. My dad is asleep a few feet away, a machine keeping a soft rhythm. Melissa is beside him, phone pressed to her ear, thinking she's alone. And I hear her say, clear as anything, "No, I know, but the timing is perfect. Dad's not going to make it to spring. If I don't grab the money now, it's tied up for a year and I've got nothing. This way I get mine while he can still sign." A pause. Then she laughs, the full, unguarded laugh, the real one, not the soft tragic version she saves for the family room. Cancer? Oh, please. It's the easiest part. Old people believe anything if you cry and wave a paper at them. The wig was, like, $200. Nobody's checking. Trust me, by the time anyone figures it out, I'll be in a condo in Arizona and Dad'll be. She stopped. Because she noticed me. I'd stepped back into the room without meaning to. And for the first time in 11 months, my sister and I looked at each other the way two people do when the lie between them has finally run out of places to hide. She went white. All she could manage was a whisper. Dan. How long have you? I just held up my phone. Because I'd been recording the whole visit. The beeping, the hallway, her phone call, every word. I'd hit the widget on my way out, just have it by then. And I'd gotten all of it. I didn't say a word to her. I looked at my dying father, still asleep, still believing his daughter was fighting for her life, and walked out to my car. I cried in that garage for a long time. Not from anger. Not from hurt. But because I had a choice no son should ever have to make. Do I protect my father's last months by keeping the truth from him? Or give him the truth he deserves, even if it shatters the version of his daughter he's been clinging to? I sat with that question for 2 full days. I decided the truth would win. But on my terms, in front of witnesses, so it couldn't be undone. I called a formal family meeting at my parents' house the following Saturday. I told them to bring my father, gently, in his wheelchair, because he needed to hear this too. I refused to decide his daughter's betrayal behind his back. Melissa knew what was coming. You could see it in how she'd stopped performing, the wigs, the updates, the brave little texts, all quiet since the hospital. She'd felt the ground shift. She just didn't know how far. She showed up. Of course. Melissa always shows up when there's an audience. Everyone was there. My mother. My father, frail in his chair, looking between us with that exhausted love parents carry to their graves. The aunts. The uncles. Melissa, seated at the head of the table like the guest of honor at her own funeral. I stood at the front. My phone in my hand. The recording queued up. Melissa has something to tell us, I said, as calm as I could. In her own words. From last Tuesday night. In Dad's hospital room. I pressed play. Her voice filled the space. Clear, cold, unmistakable. Old people believe anything if you cry and wave a paper at them. I watched my father's face as he heard it, the slow, terrible comprehension, his weak hands clenching the wheelchair's arms. His eyes found Melissa's across the table, not with anger, not even sadness at first. With disappointment. The pure, unmediated kind. The kind that doesn't shout. When the recording ended, the silence in that room was so complete I could hear the clock on the wall tick. My mother started to cry, not the soft supportive crying of the past 11 months, but the hard-broken kind, the sound of a woman realizing she'd been comforting a lie. My aunt stood, said I need air, and walked out. And Melissa did what she always does when cornered. She tried to spin it. That's taken out of context. Dan edited it. He's always been jealous, he's always resented me. But it didn't land. The confession was crystal clear. There was no editing it away. I let her talk in circles for 90 seconds. Then I pressed play on the second recording, the spa day, the geotagged photos, the billing statement from the clinic that matched the nose job, not the treatment. By the time I was done, there was nothing left for her to say. What happens after something like this shatters a family is not clean. My father did the hardest thing a parent can do. He chose the truth. His lawyer reversed the early distribution, clawing back most of the $47,000, which Melissa had been surprisingly bad at spending, more interested in hoarding the number than using it. The money went back into the estate. Melissa was cut off, not in a screaming match, but in the quiet, final way that hurts more. My mother didn't speak to her for 4 months. My father died 2 weeks later, peacefully, at home, the truth finally on the table, Melissa nowhere in the room by his own request. When the will was read, it had been rewritten. Her remaining share went into a trust, payable only under conditions she'll never meet. He didn't disown her, that would have been too simple. He just made sure she couldn't lie her way into the rest. As for me, I won't pretend I'm a hero. I let my father believe a lie for 11 months because I needed proof. There are nights I wonder if I should have spoken up sooner, given him a few more honest weeks. But here's what I know. The truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be documented. Be patient. Wait for the lie to hang itself. Melissa and I don't speak anymore. Families are supposed to be the people who love you no matter what, but sometimes the person who hurts you most looks exactly like the person who's supposed to love you most. So here's the verdict, the part this channel is really about, the part one want you to sit with. My sister stole $47,000 of our father's legacy with a lie about a disease she didn't have. She used his love, his guilt, and his dying days as currency. By any definition, that is one of the most calculated betrayals I can imagine. But the real verdict isn't about her. It's about what you do when you're the only one who knows the truth, and everyone around you has decided to believe a beautiful lie. Do you scream? Accuse? Burn it all down in the first 5 minutes and risk becoming the person nobody believes, even when you're right? Or do you wait? Document? Let the lie get comfortable, let it run its mouth, and then, at the exact right moment, press play? I chose patience. I chose the recording. And I'd make that choice again 1,000 times. Because the truth doesn't have to raise its voice. It just has to be played back, in front of the people who need to hear it, at the moment they're finally ready to listen. If you're in a situation like mine, the one who sees the lie everyone is too afraid to name, document it. Quietly. Legally. Record the conversations. Save the receipts. Build the case. Then wait, because your moment will come. The lie always slips. You just have to be recording when it does. And when you finally press play, let the silence do the talking. Because in the end, the verdict wasn't mine to give. It was already in the recording. Thanks for sitting with this one. These stories aren't easy to carry, and I know some of you are carrying ones just like it right now, quietly, patiently, waiting for your moment. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment and tell me, would you have pressed play earlier, or waited like Daniel did? I read every single one, and the verdict section is always my favorite, hearing how you'd handle it. Hit subscribe for a new calm verdict every week. And if you've got a family story of your own, the kind that keeps you up at night, share it. You'd be surprised how many people have been exactly where you are. Until next time. Stay calm. Stay patient. And never stop recording.